WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's Monday at 4, so it must be the Community Bell Show. We are so happy to have you with us, as always, on Mondays at 4 o'clock. And if it's the fourth Monday, it must be the Wayne County Sheriff Washington Monday. This Wayne County Sheriff Monday is always the fourth Monday. And so we're glad to have the Wayne County Sheriff with us today. And he has a special person that he's going to introduce to us. But before we do that, I'd like to send our condolences to the Sheriff's Department on the losses you've suffered over the last few weeks. It's got to be just horrible just to lose people that you've worked with, you've known for all this long time. And so we just want to send our condolences to you and your fellow officers from WVTC Radio Detroit. Our hearts are with you. So now, Sheriff, Welcome again, as always. We're always so glad to have it be the fourth Monday because we learn all sorts of great information about what's going on in the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and all sorts of things that people just never knew, didn't even know the question to ask. Not only didn't they know, they didn't know what questions to ask to get the information. And so we're glad to have you with us, Sheriff Washington.
Thank you so much. And let me thank you, Ms. Bell, for the condolences, and I appreciate that. I'm sure the family appreciates it. We at the Wayne County Sheriff's Office appreciates it as well. We have lost a couple of people over the last couple of weeks unexpectedly, and it has been a trying time, but we appreciate the prayers and of comfort and strength that you all send to us, so we thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So now, moving forward to today, as I like to say, I bet you didn't know, session of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. I have our director, fairly newly appointed director. She's done everything in the Sheriff's Office, but she'll tell you more about that. But she's now in a promoted director position, which is a very important position. You know, oftentimes people think that when those have the misfortune of coming into our facility, that we just throw them in the jail cell and they're there and we take care of them, but there's no strategic plan on how we best suit them and fit them where they should be with those that are in the same kind of condition, I would say, that they're in. So we don't just mix people. We have to strategically figure out how we put those together, those inmates in our custody together. And so Michelle Bomer is going to be talking a little bit about that, or talking a lot about that, because there's a lot to it. And any questions that you have, we'll be able to answer them. And but it's a very, people are going to learn a lot today, and about the Sheriff's Office and how we strategically place those people, whether they're females, males, age, oftentimes medical conditions, oftentimes whether they're have whatever kind of challenges they have, mental health challenges, special challenges such as they may be dealing with, they may be homosexuals or the like, and we don't mix those people together with those that are not. And so it's a lot of things that go into how we do that. And so because we have to take care of everybody and make sure they're safe. And so Michelle Bomer is going to introduce herself and then tell you a lot about her. And then I almost said Commissioner Bell. You once a commissioner, always a commissioner. That's your daughter now, which is,
yes.
I just love this family, period. And your other daughter who I met, who you all don't let come out often, you know. But
she's the power behind the throne. She keeps us all in line.
She told me that. I believe she does too. Michelle might have met her. She was at the golf outing as well, but the Cass Tech golf outing.
Yes.
But nevertheless, Michelle Bomer, please take, if that's okay, Miss Bell.
Oh, that's great. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you.
The sheriff has
Thank you
given
for having me.
a brief introduction. Now, you tell us really who you are,
Right,
and where you come from, and what you've done.
right.
Okay. I've been here for 22 years. I originally wanted to.
Oh, you're not that old.
Yep, 22 years. And I fell in love with the sheriff's office. Worked here, put myself through the police academy when I first started. Then I went to our special operations and worked there for quite a few years. That's our plainclothes operations with sex crimes and narcotics. And felt like it was time for a change. So I went back into the jails to pursue my education, got my bachelor, got my master's degree, and then started testing for sergeant, testing for lieutenant. And eventually, thanks to the sheriff, I have been promoted to director of classification.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, give us a description. What does classification mean?
Well, classification is when somebody comes in, the team conducts a face-to-face interview. They utilize a classification system based on their current charge, their previous criminal history, institutional behavior, escape risk, demographics like age, and other factors. And what we do is we'll separate our population if they're vulnerable or predatory, if they have special needs, if they need any kind of just housing that helps with them being with the same type of inmates. So the detainees are similar in their crimes and their history and the way that they act within the institution. And we just try to keep them together.
Okay. Now, I guess I never even thought about this before, but do we have a separate prison for women and one for men?
Well, we have they are separated. We have the women that are on separate housing units that are men are on also separate housing units. So yes, they're separated, but the women are housed within Division 1. We have 3 divisions, and the women are within Division 1.
Okay, so you've got 3 divisions. Talk to us about each one of those divisions.
Okay, currently Division 3, we are not housing detainees. We are housing them at Division 1 and 2. Division 2 is an older facility. It's got the bars. It's mechanical, opening and shutting doors. Division 1 is podular direct, where they are sitting in a station and they're able to see. They have constant view of what's going on with the inmate population from each side. Division 3, which we are currently not housing anybody, that is our direct supervision housing units. And that's the difference between them.
Where are those located? What's the one that's at on Bobian?
So we have 570 Clinton, which is our Division 1, and then we have 525 Clinton, which is our Division 2, and 35001, which is our Hamtramck jail.
Okay. And what's the Hamtramck jail used for?
Right now, our tether department is operating out of here, our EMU, electronic monitoring unit.
Okay.
Because we moved all of the inmates pretty much because of staffing. We moved them to downtown so that we can best serve them due to our limited staff, or not staffing. It's not limited, but it's not what we want it to be. And so we tried to make the inmate population, the jail population, smaller by bringing them to 2 versus trying to staff 3, but 3 jails. Okay. So that's why we're doing that. But I think Michelle needs to speak to as well how we classify them, other than just classify. We have a whole North Point system that we use that's really strategic in how we place those, so that we're not trying to figure it out outside of interviewing them. Once we interview them, then we have a system that helps us the best classify them and put them in the right place.
Now, is that a computerized system, or is it written down, or the computer will help you put them in the right classification?
Michelle?
Yes. It's an objective tool, and when you're interviewing them and you're looking at their criminal history, you'll take everything that you find that's documented and you'll put that in there. What is their current charge? Is it assaultive or non-assaultive? Is it a felony, not a felony? Do they have 3 or more felonies within the last 10 years of street time? And how about institutional behavior? Is there severe institutional behavior? Do they have an escape risk? And what it is, it's between 1 and 9, and that will determine where they are housed. And we take that objective tool, and along with our interview, which our interview is subjective, and we gauge them and see where they'd better be housed. And as a matter of fact, it is created to override sometimes. Sometimes you have to override that classification level so they can be housed accordingly. So a good example of why we would override somebody, if somebody comes in here, say for a charge of murder, and they are fairly older and they have 0 criminal history, we're not going to put them with somebody who is younger that has an extensive criminal history, even though their classifications could be similar with the number that's assigned to them.
Okay. Go back again to the Division 1, 2, and 3, okay, because people don't really, when you say Clifford Street, they don't know where that is. So if we're talking Frank Murphy Hall of Justice? Is that
right across from the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice?
Okay.
One's right across, one's right behind.
Right, one's right behind,
Mhm.
and one's right across the street. So
Right.
let's say if you are you go to Greektown and you see let's see, you're coming up, what's the street that leads onto the freeway? Is that Clifford?
No, that's St. Antoine.
St. Antoine. Clifford is the street right before you get to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, right?
Clinton Street.
Clinton, I'm sorry, Clinton.
Yeah, and Clinton is the street that actually the jail sit on. The front doors of the jail sit on Clinton Street.
Yes. Okay.
Which the jails are located between St. Antoine and Beaubien Street. And Clinton is the street that the jail sit on.
Okay, and if you've been to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, you know that they bring the prisoners in the back, so to speak.
Yes, that is correct.
And so that people would not see that.
That is correct. And we also, when they're in our custody and they're going to court, we have a tunnel, and people don't know that. I'm gonna give you a little more unknown fact about that. That there's a tunnel that leads from both jails, Division 1 and Division 2, to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, so that we don't have to take them outside of the jail. They're underground and very secure, and that's how we move the inmates when they're in our custody downtown to the court for their day in court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good information. Thank you. And that's Division 1 and 2. So that's where the majority of our inmates are right now, correct?
That's correct. We have a lot of them on tether, and that's a whole another conversation. But yeah, we have about, what do we have, Michelle? About 1,200?
1685 on tether and 1339 within our jails, Division 1 and 2.
Right.
So what determines?
Female. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'll jump in, but it's okay. Don't worry. What determines whether I can be on a tether or not?
Sometimes that's a court order. And then once in a while, it'll be an AJR. It depends on the charges.
What is AJR?
An administrative jail release. We work with other, sometimes Chief Judge Kenny and Prosecutor Kim Worthy and Director Jerry O'Hurd. We all work together sometimes and identify people who are eligible that could possibly go on tether in lieu of jail.
Okay. And those and tell me how do you they're on tether, it goes around the ankle. How is it electronic? I mean, how do you know where they are if they're on tether?
That's good.
Well, they have different types of tether. They have the GPS, which tracks them. They have alcohol tether, which is if they drink, it'll go off that they violated zones.
Okay, everybody, you hear that? Everybody listening. If you're not supposed to be, if you were arrested for drunk driving and they let you go for a tether, and you go drinking, they're gonna know.
Absolutely.
And they're coming to get you.
Absolutely. You would have violated your bond and your tether, and we're gonna come get you. And the judge is probably going to do something different now at that point. If you haven't had your day in court yet, you're still waiting. Probably going to end up staying with us. So we have ways to find out what it is that you're doing, and if you're conducting yourselves as you should while you're out on bond and in tether and on a tether.
Isn't technology incredible?
It's incredible.
Absolutely incredible. So if you aren't supposed to be drinking, we will know. The tether will go off. So is there a place in your department where people are watching to see if something goes off?
Absolutely. That's our electronic and monitor unit. And they monitor what's going on and where they're at. And if they've violated the zones that they're not supposed to be in, make sure that they go to court. And then if they don't, then they, generate a report and send it to the judge and violate sometimes.
Is that a 24-hour operation?
Yes.
So someone's monitoring that 24 hours.
Wow. And so that tether will tell me if I'm only supposed to go 30 feet away from my front door, the tether will say that, he's 50 feet away. Is that how that goes?
Yes, that would be like a house arrest tether. It means you can't leave the house. But a lot of times the zones include victims if they're a victim of a charge and their bond has been posted and then they've been released on tether.
Okay. Oh, so that will tell you if the person has gone close to the person they're not supposed to be around.
Yes, there's certain addresses that's put in the system.
Wonderful. Now, what job is that? Who, the people who monitor those tethers? Is that a sheriff? Is that what person is that?
Good question.
It's the sheriff and vendors. They collaborate together. The vendor will get a violation alert, and then they will contact the sheriffs and say, hey, there's a violation going on.
So they're not actually sitting in a room watching this. They just get like a beeper goes off. Is that it?
Yes,
Sometimes,
basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, yeah, that's kind of how it is. There's an alert and they call them, and then it'll go to the person that's working the case management. They'll take that call. And then if they don't answer it, it will go to the next person, to the supervisor. So they have things in place that will help assist so they can go ahead and take action on what violation occurred.
Okay. Now let's go back to Division 1 and 2. Typically, who would be in Division 1?
Good question.
Well, so Division 1, if you had to compare them, our more aggressive, violent detainees would be housed in Division 2. And then Division 1 would have the females, all types of all classification levels of females who are divided within their housing units. And the lesser of the violent, some are, non-violent at all. It just depends on what their charges are and what their history is.
So they're in Division 1.
Yes.
So basically, you always commissioner.
Yeah, I'll respond to that.
It just helps better than Miss Bell.
Yes.
I think we're closer than that now. So
Yes.
nevertheless, those that are, as Michelle said, the violent offenders, the ones that are being held for those type of crimes, whether it be, accused of murder or attempted murder or accused of those assaultive behavior crimes.
Right.
We have to keep those in a position where we need to know that we're keeping them as safe as they can, and we're staying as safe as we can.
Yeah, and to further discuss that, we have the mental health that's in Division 1 that takes place there. We have the DVT program. That is the DVT one. The DVT, the JV Plus, a program, they facilitate helping them with life skills and anger management and things that
domestic violence and stuff.
Yes, that will assist helping them when they get released into the community or to the residential program. It'll help them, make better decisions.
So, Michelle, when they get to us, and I always like to use domestic violence, we're going to be teaching. We have counselors that are working with them to make sure that when they're released, that they've learned how to manage their behavior and things that cause them to be sentenced to our facility because of domestic violence or other type of behavioral things that we try to make sure that and that helps curb the recidivism that happens. And, we're not seeing the same people over and over. So we're not just holding them. We're making sure that we're teaching them how to best conduct themselves with these behavioral issues they have.
Is there any kind of educational component? I know they're not in our possession, I should say, a long time, but is there any kind of educational component that's in the jails for them?
Michelle,
we used to run the GED program, but currently because of COVID, it's not running right now. And what they would do is they wouldn't administer the test, but they would give them the tools to learn how to and the knowledge to pass the test when they were to take it when they would get out.
Okay.
So and that was important to do. The average stay in our jail is about 9 days, and so we have a turnover quite a bit, and so it wouldn't really be prudent to try to administer tests and things like that. But we do as much as we can with those that are sentenced and those that are there to put them in a position to be successful when they get out. So we're not just housing and feeding them. There's a whole process that goes along with trying to keep them from returning to our facility if they're not going to prison.
Absolutely. And sometimes upon release, they will go into programs, Detroit Wayne Integrated Network, ETRS, Swift and Sure Sanctions Program, the Wayne County Jail Ministry Outreach Program, Team Wellness, and then homeless accommodation. And there's all kinds of programs that, especially if they're on the mental health floor, we'll do a mental health discharge plan. So they're able to go into those programs and get the help that they need when they've been released from us.
Now, I know that you've been very strong in terms of not putting people in jail because they have mental health problems. Talk about that. What happened with that? Because I know there was a push in Wayne County to not house people because they had mental health problems.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, well, so they have the district court has a program for mental health. Team Wellness also collaborates with them, and they try to identify who needs mental health help, and they put them in the same courtroom. And when they're in there, they're able to monitor them more, give them, more access to counseling, placement of work. Basic needs, again, life skills, and that's when they collaborate with all these different other agencies and assistance from other people.
Yeah,
and it's important.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. It's important for people to know that back in the probably mid-90s, when Lafayette Clinic was still open, and other places were still open that were able to provide mental health services, we did not have as many people going into our jail system that had mental health services. Our jails began to fill up because those people didn't have any place to go. And so I know that the sheriff has been instrumental in working with mental health institutions and the county commissioner and the county executive to find ways to not put people in jail because they have mental health problems.
And that is true. That is so true. And it's just so important to know that. So while we're working on that end of it, we're also making sure that our officers who interact with those with mental health conditions, because it's a condition, it's really not that person. The person dealing with a condition, and we have to try to best treat the condition and understand it as much as we can. And so we make sure that we even send our officers to that mental health training and crisis intervention team training so that we best know how to handle them and deal with them and understand that it's a condition. So when they're acting out and things like that, we send our officers to train to know how, just like a professional mental health professional would do. We would know those techniques and those things as well, so that we don't let them hurt themselves and we don't get hurt ourselves. We just know how to diffuse things as much as we can. So we send our officers to those kind of trainings as training as well to make sure we best serving that mental health consumer.
And that is so important for people to know that Wayne County really has been a leader in the nation in terms of providing assistance to those who have mental health issues.
Yes.
And not putting them in jail.
Yes.
Also has been a leader in the tether piece of it, and not housing people for things that they could be out going to work, being productive citizens. So I think it's important that people know that Wayne County is a leader in the nation.
Thank you for that.
Those regards.
Thank you for that. And that is true. If we, at one point, we had about 1,600 or so people out on tether, and that's a lot. But what we were doing, we were concerned about not housing all of those people in our jails during the pandemic when it was really at its height, because we didn't want to be responsible for creating super spreaders and having to keep even the inmate population in one area where they're housed and not be able to get recreation and not be able to move about because the thing was spreading so much. So when we found that we could through the help of the court, the chief judge and the prosecutor, know that those are in our custody. If we could evaluate them and see how we could get them out. And though it was a lot out on tether, and that we had to monitor, because we were able to get a lot of them out, so that non-violent type of offenses. It worked. I think it helped reduce the spread in our jails, and so that was a good thing. Although it was a little stressful for us to monitor, I think we're proud to say we didn't have many violators at all.
That's great.
And so so it was a good thing, and it all worked out.
And the other question is, were we able to put together any statistics that say whether crime increased or kind of stayed the same once we let all those people out on tethers? Because that might be a good sign that says tethering does work and it does not increase crime. So do
Michelle,
we have any numbers?
She could speak to, I don't know about specific numbers, but she could speak to the violators who we put out, if we had many of those at all, and I don't think we did. Michelle, why don't you help me out on that?
I would love to, but I do not want to give you guys misinformation. I'm not 100% sure if the crime increased or decreased while they were on electronic monitoring unit. I know this has been the most they've ever had on it at one time, and it's been definitely a challenge.
Sure. I'm sure. Let me maybe help you with that. I would say, this is just my personal assessment, that if it had increased, we would have heard it all over the news.
And again,
they would have been telling us, oh, those Wayne County people let all those people out, and crime has spiked.
You definitely would have heard it that, and you definitely would have heard if there was a situation like that.
Yes.
And we just haven't heard that. And Michelle is not the one that really tracks that. That's another portion of what we're going to get on this call at some point. Our tether officers and leaders of that unit, they would know how many violators we've had, let them out, and if it was an uptick, was it as a result of our inmates who we put on, because they're still in our custody, that we let out and on tether. They would know if there was an uptick because of that. And I'm just going out on a limb and saying I don't think. I'm like you. Yeah. Well, we haven't heard about it. We're gonna take.
I'm just sure news media would have been all over Wayne County if that had been the case. So we're gonna say that it didn't go up, but we'll get the real deal from the people who do it all the time.
Absolutely, I'm going to bring them on soon, and we're going to talk more about tethering and how that works, and how if in fact we get a lot of violations and those people are coming back. And I just don't hear that as the sheriff. I don't hear a lot about that. Not that I wouldn't hear about every little thing, but I try to keep people like Michelle.
I know you know. I know you know everything that's going on. So don't even try it.
I keep them reporting to me. I have little people around that tell me what I need to know.
Yes, I know you know.
Yes, sure.
Absolutely.
They might try to keep a little something from me, but I find. Yes,
you do find out.
Absolutely.
You do find out.
Yes.
Well, this is a point where you talked about part of the reason Division 1 and Division 2 have people in them and not Dickerson is because of a lack of people. So now is the time when we want to talk about recruiting.
Yes, we can always talk about recruiting.
I knew you would. So
I mean, that is my favorite topic, and as well as retention.
Yes.
So we're working with the county exec's office, and we're partnering together to best figure out how we recruit effectively, and how we retain those that are in our agency that are now at a position where they can leave and retire. We want to keep some of that good talent, know, and have them work a little longer, because oftentimes they'll come back, they'll say, well, retirement wasn't what I thought it was. I still want to work. Can I come back? And so we're trying to figure out a way to keep those in there. There are some things on the table, but as it relates to recruiting, we're at every recruiting fair we hear about. We're doing some things. We've bought a lot of different recruitment material and apparatus that we need to best recruit. I'm gonna get you something right quick.
Okay.
I'm so proud of this because this and guy's not a bad looking guy either, but we got tablets here with
It looks familiar.
and it talks about recruiting and hiring opportunities and all of that, and so it's a whole threefold that talks about what's going on in the sheriff's office, and we've just got these blanketed all over the county so that we can let people know that we're out here offering jobs, and these are jobs for if you're 18-year-old and 19 and 20 and 25, and you're looking at a $40,000 plus salary because there's overtime involved and things you can work as 16 hours if you want and make additional money, and it's just and everybody doesn't want to be on the enforcement side of law enforcement where you're out in the street making arrests, you're going to various runs. Sometimes you just want to be on the custody side and work in our jails and serve those that are unfortunately in our custody and who are, as we say in America, are innocent people in our jails until they've been proven guilty, and we treat them like innocent people. And as well as even if they were found guilty in a state prison, we still treat them with dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
That's what we should be doing because they're still people. But
are we getting any more? Are we getting more people coming in?
So we just graduated 12 on Friday.
Oh,
and
great.
we have a double-digit class coming up that's going to be starting. It's going to be out before Christmas, and then we've had some even prior to this, and so we're getting people. So now, as we're doing that, we're really concentrating on retaining those that we have, because we can get 12. If we lose 12, we're really where we were, And so this is a situation all over America in law enforcement, all over America. You asked, they just did a big thing on one of the local channels and the news. I missed it, but they just did a big hiring situation on one of the local channels that talked about one of our agencies here in Michigan, what they're doing to try to recruit. And every police department I know in our area can talk about what they're doing to recruit, because we have to get people excited about law enforcement again, like we were when we were young people.
Absolutely. How long is the training class?
So we're doing 16 weeks. Michelle, is it in the academy? Michelle worked in our training unit
for the Corrections Academy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Is it
12
weeks?
I'm trying to remember. I think maybe around there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our training academy for our correction, and that's what you have to come into the sheriff's office as a corrections officer. It's between 8 to 12 weeks, and you learn a lot about what it is that you should do in our jail setting situations, and you're pretty much working in the jails and some other, not just necessarily working with the inmate population as you're working in classification. We have those that work in classification who are what we call non-certified because they haven't been state certified yet, but they've been certified to the point that they can that pleases the state that they can work in corrections. And so we have those positions available for people, and we're getting a lot of traction on this as we move forward. Thanks again to the CEO's office who does a great job with partnering with us, and CEO has made it known that he understands the challenges. I mean, he was the sheriff prior to becoming the county exec. So I think that's a beautiful thing because he knows the challenge and how important it is that we recruit continuously and how we retain those we can through various programs that are out there to be able to do just that.
And they are paid while they're being trained, correct?
Absolutely. You come in the day you start training is the day you start getting paid. Oh. And I can't stress enough how how we have to get people involved in law enforcement again. But it's not just a law enforcement issue. It's just a workplace issue.
Yes.
I was driving by the Burger King the other day. I don't want to say I was driving in there, but I was getting a hamburger. But nevertheless, the sign says $500 signing bonus.
Wow.
Just to come sign up to work at Burger King, and I don't diminish that profession at all. I'm just saying, when I started working in McDonald's when I was 16 years old, making $2.10 an hour.
Yes.
It was that's what we wanted to do.
That's right.
I mean, we were 16. We wanted to work, and so $2.10. Then when I went to Farmer Jack, because I heard they were paying $2.75. I ran over there, because that 65 cents meant the world. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And so, I don't know where we are and how this happened. In the workplace, I've got ideas. I listen to people say what it is, but people got to get back to work. And
yes,
and hopefully we curb this pandemic and flatten that and get that right. Then I think we can get people back to work in a lot of professions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you a question about the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Are all your officers, do your officers have to have the vaccine?
So we're not forcing our officers to take the vaccine. We're proud to say that we have over half of our population, our work population, vaccinated, and still encouraging those that have not to become vaccinated. But we do have mandatory testing for those that have not. Every other week, mandatory test that you're not carrying the virus, and if you are, then you have to quarantine like everyone else has to. But I'm proud to say, again, half of our work population has been vaccinated, and we're continuously encouraging those to get. I'm getting ready to have my booster shot Friday, and I can't wait for it. I'm just excited.
You and me both. I haven't scheduled mine, but I'm scheduling mine tomorrow. So
I got my schedule for Friday, and I'm excited because when you've lost people to this pandemic,
yes,
who are very close to you, and it's real, and no, I don't know what this thing is going to ultimately do, if it's going to work long term, or something going to happen later on to us and whatever. I know what this virus is doing immediately.
Yes,
and so I'm going to roll my dice on the vaccine.
Absolutely,
and take it, because I know firsthand that this virus is killing people, and it still is. And I don't need to play with that at all. And I wish we wouldn't have made this masking and taking care of yourself a political issue.
Absolutely.
I don't know how this becomes.
I don't know how that. It's a healthcare issue.
It's a healthcare issue.
Yes.
And for you and for others that you come in contact with.
Absolutely.
So I don't get it. But.
Yeah.
We're doing our part as sheriffs.
We appreciate you. Michelle, another question. When you're doing the classifications, is part of the questionnaire whether those people have graduated from high school?
Yes. Yep. We ask that. We ask if they've been previously in the military. They're obviously their last grade completed if they didn't graduate. Those are definitely some of the questions, emergency contacts and.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is I recently started working with a volunteer group, and we are trying to reduce the absenteeism rate in Detroit public schools. And I firmly believe, and I'm probably somewhere I'm going to find some statistics that prove this, that if young people don't go to school, and if they're absent, chronically absent, that contributes to them having a life that is not one that many of us would want our children to have, that they might be more prone to end up in a jail situation. And so I'm trying to look at some numbers that say that, but it just seems to me that if they're not in school, they don't graduate. If they don't graduate, they probably can't get a job as easily as they used to be able to get one in the factories and all those places. And sometimes they are caught up in the crime system and the jail system.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. You know, there's a lot of statistical data that shows, you know, the level of education determines your rate of pay, you know, the opportunities that you have. And I would say that there's a strong correlation with that. That's why we want to help everyone that we can, is give them the best tools we can.
Absolutely. And so I'll talk more about that in the coming months, but just our goal is to reduce absenteeism rate and to start with the lower grades, K through 5, because typically once they get to middle school and high school,
it's too late.
The pattern has already been set.
Yes.
It's too late. And so we're working with not the children, we're working with the parents, because from K through 5, they can't get themselves to school. The parents have to be the ones responsible for getting them there. And so we're working with the parents to help them be able to help their children and finding ways to help them, you know, if it's transportation, if it's daycare, if it's a job, whatever it is, we're trying to find ways to help those parents be able to get those kids to school.
That's a great program.
Love it.
Great program.
Yes.
Love it. Yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate you. So you did great.
Don't let her off early now, Michelle. If you need her, keep her some more.
You had the answers, so you didn't know you had them, but you stuff you know.
Exactly.
It's just what you know. And you had all the answers. We appreciate that. And you will be back because we're going to want to hear more about the jail system, especially when the new jail opens.
Absolutely.
How you're going to be integrated into the new facility with the courts and all the stuff that's going to be over there on Warren and 75. So that's going to be quite a facility. Do we know how soon it's going to be open?
So we're looking at possibly the third quarter, fourth quarter of next year, somewhere between October and December, if not very early in January of 23. But we're pushing real hard to get this done so that we can get in there operating by the end of next year, 22. So to that end, Ms. Bell, if you want, unless you want something else, I can bring a couple of people from our new jail, what we call our new jail team in. It's been working on this project for a long time. And they can talk to you all about what's coming up with the new jail and how
that would be great.
How wonderful it's going to be, and how we're even going to start when it gets just a little bit more accommodating and not too dangerous to walk around. How we're going to take some people like yourself through there and look and see what happens before the inmate population gets in, and see how that's going. And
that would be great. That would be fantastic. Because I know people driving down 75, a lot of people don't even know what that structure is that's going up.
Exactly.
And so we need to, let them know it's got to be state of the art, from what I understand now. Tell you how far I remember when Dickinson opened. So we had an open house and a little reception so people could see it. But there were those people who were offered the opportunity to stay overnight in a jail cell if they chose. Really? I did not choose to do that.
You didn't want to do that? You didn't take the opportunity?
No, did not choose to do that. But there were some who said, I'd like to see what it's like. No, I don't want to know what that's like ever.
That's funny. But no, we can do that. I'm going to make sure, Michelle, don't let me forget that. We're going to put the new jail team on. The leader, one of the leaders, one of the lieutenants that's over that, and we'll get maybe another person from their team if we need it. But we definitely want to talk about that on the next one. Okay,
that would be awesome.
Great.
Yeah,
that would be great.
And I tell the people who are looking for a job with the sheriff's office, you will be part of a state-of-the-art facility. So not only do you have all these opportunities to do transportation, courts, jails, street enforcement, marine unit, mounted unit, all these opportunities, you're going to be on the state-of-the-art, the best jail facility in Michigan. You will be part of that.
That'll be great. And the other thing that our next show, we got so much going on the Wayne County Sheriff. People don't know all the stuff that the Sheriff's Department does.
They learn a lot. With this
they learn a lot.
They
The courts, they don't know that there's sheriffs in the courts.
Yes.
Down at KMAC, the Homeland Young Center. There are sheriffs in that facility. There's sheriffs at the one on for the St. Antoine, and so
the juvenile court,
the juvenile, they people don't know. So just more stuff to talk about, lots of stuff to talk about.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes,
we're gonna hit that.
Yes.
We're gonna. If you're gonna have me on every month, you're gonna know this whole department.
All right.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes,
thank you so much for coming on, Michelle. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the information. More to come, everybody. Wayne County Sheriff's Office, Wayne County Sheriff Raphael Washington, and Michelle Boner. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you next Monday, everybody. Community Bell Show, 4:00. Don't miss it. Best information in town. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit.